Hey, we are back, and you're listening to the Rob and Hal Show. I am your host, Rob, and sitting alongside me is my co-host, Hal. Hal, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing better than I was last week.
What the hell happened last week?
Everything.
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 Explain.
What am I supposed to talk about?
Well, I don't know. It just seems like there's a trend here. Every time we get in the studio, you're miserable.
I think you're a baby.
All right, guys, we are back. It's been a while since we've been in the studio, and there's a number of reasons for that. Life. But as always, it's great to be back. And tonight, we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Brandon Lawson.
Yeah, this is a pretty compelling case. There's a lot of speculation online. A lot of people diving really deep into this, trying to figure things out. And
many theories.
Many theories. And nothing has been concrete.
Yeah, it's just one of those frustrating, aggravating, and eerie. We're going to play the 911 call for the listeners and let them decide what they hear, because that thing has been deciphered and dissected over and over and over again because we just don't really know what he's saying, or it's not clear.
Yeah, because there was some artifacts in the audio from, I think, him having spotty connection. Also because he seemed to be breathing pretty heavily at the time.
Yeah, he was pretty frantic and obviously seemed scared in the call.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff we'll delve into later, but he seemed as if somebody was following him, or if he had ran into trouble, or possibly, some people even think he might have been talking about a wild boar, which, in Texas, around that area,
they're pretty prevalent.
Yeah, I guess so. Luckily, we don't have to deal with that here in the East Coast.
Yeah. Anything going on in the news that we should cover really quick here, Hal? Anything have you seen? Or, I'm sorry, what have you seen?
Yeah, so one of the things that really surprised me was, did you hear about this new COVID test they're coming out with?
I did not.
Well, it's being developed.
Oh, the saliva thing.
Yeah. It was developed by the Yale School of Public Health, and it's supposed to combat the shortages that we have with with the swab they stick up your nose and basically into your brain. In case anyone asks, this article that I'm reading on scientist.com says that it retains much of the accuracy of the swabs. The reason that they have to do this is because they're running out of swabs in general and reagents. And, they can run more tests than they were able to with the original COVID-19 test. The saliva test, they can run like 90 samples in less than 3 hours. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes up with that next. Because I think that would help us combat the spread of this. If within 3 hours, if 90 people know within 3 hours that they have COVID-19, they know to actually quarantine and stay away from people so they're not spreading it, And people should be taking the proper precautions anyway. There's a lot of anti-maskers out there and whatever.
Yeah, and this thing's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, I don't see it going away. I was at a doctor's appointment and somebody was talking to me, and they said that they think that this might become like the next common cold or the next seasonal flu, where it's going to be around every year, and you're basically going to be like, yeah, I had COVID this year, and
yeah, it's just going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. It's not going to go away, and with school starting back up here, it already started up already. My kids are going to be homeschooled, but
yeah, mine too. I think that's the safest thing to do.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more cases, and I don't want to put my children in that situation. Yeah, with this testing, we have to find something, man. There's got to be some sort of, there's more deaths. It's amazing, too, because now it's getting personal. I mean, I know people who have lost relatives or friends to this, and it's a real thing, you know. It's real, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed for a definitive vaccine or cure for it or something.
Yeah, and I actually know somebody personally that has it, who I came in contact with, and I was asymptomatic. But my wife was having some symptoms that she didn't think was COVID-19, but we figured it'd be best since we have 3 kids, and since you and your kids come around, we thought it'd be best for her to go get tested. I was kind of worried that I might be a carrier and be asymptomatic, but was able to spread it to other people. She went and got tested. She got the good old swab up the nose there, and she came back negative, which was, if she would have came back positive, they said that I would have been assumed positive. And since she came back negative, I was assumed negative since we are in such close proximity.
Yeah. Well, it's better to be safe than sorry, because I remember when this thing started and everybody was locked in and very scared, and as they all should be. But at some point, it's not that I'm not afraid of it, and I'm not, I am following the guidelines and wearing my mask and stuff. But I mean, I don't want to live my life in total fear. I mean, I don't want to not come here and visit you and my nephew and nieces and my sister-in-law. So
yeah, in the beginning of this, we actually stayed away from each other.
Yeah, for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah, the only family member that I saw outside of my house was our brother, our younger brother, because he and I worked together.
Yeah.
And that was basically at work. He asked me not to come to his place. I asked him not to come to my place. Because I didn't want him infecting us, and I didn't want to infect them either,
Yeah, and we were all just being precautious. I mean, nobody, I didn't take offense to it, but I agreed. We stayed in the house for a while. I mean, aside from our jobs, we had to go to our jobs and do that, and that pissed me off because people would just not stop grocery shopping. It was like
same people.
It was like a playground, But yeah, hopefully there's an end to this sooner than later.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, did you see the Golden State Killer?
Oh yeah,
he was actually sentenced to life without parole.
Yeah, why did that take so fucking long?
I don't know, man. Our judicial system takes forever. Like the process of court and everything else just takes so long. It's like this guy should have been put in a cage a long time. I mean, he's been in, he's been in jail for quite a while. But I'm just saying, the process it takes just to gather all this stuff up and finally convict him, just prolongs the agony. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, the families definitely want closure, but the longer they have to wait. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, well, first of all, he was an ex-cop, and
which makes it even more disgusting, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway.
Which is probably why he went undetected for so many years.
Yeah, because he knew what they were looking for, most likely.
And they used that, the DNA through family.
Mm-hmm.
So they tracked somebody in his family and eventually tracked him, and it's like, smarten up, people. You cannot. There is no such thing as a perfect crime or perfect murder.
Yeah. Even in our own small town here, somebody once said you can get away with murder here, and it was many years later, but they caught the guy. Yeah. You remember that there was a motel?
No, I don't remember that.
Right down the street here.
Oh, I'm not.
Yep.
No. Okay.
Yeah, there was someone that was murdered in a motel here, and it went unsolved for many years, and then they finally got the guy.
Well, Joseph DeAngelo, the Golden State serial killer, will never be getting out of jail.
And well, what is he now? Like, in the picture, he looked like 60 or 70.
Yeah. Oh, he's it's like he was fine one day, and then these guys get arrested. It's like Harvey Weinstein. He's walking around flaunting his stuff, and then in court he's in a wheelchair with a walker, and the same thing with this guy. You know, there was reports of this guy like freaking out on neighbors days before his arrest.
Yeah.
And now you see him and he can't talk, he can't hear, he's in a wheelchair, he's old and feeble, and it's like, dude, you know, I mean, he essentially, you know, got away with it. I mean, he is next, you know, he's got 1 foot in the grave, unless all this is just a charade and he is joking and he's a healthy whatever. But the guy, you know, he's old. All those years that he got away with it, and you know, now he's finally caught. But dude, he's decrepit. I mean, it's just sad, you know.
How many people did he kill?
Oh gosh, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I mean, he started out like breaking in houses and raping people, and I mean, he would do disgusting stuff. Like, I mean, he would literally terrorize. You know, he would put like dishes on the boyfriends or husbands and say, if I hear these things move, he would take like the wives and stuff in different rooms and rape them.
Yeah. And
he would say, if I hear these dishes move, I'm going to kill you. I mean, he would just brutalize and terrorize people. You know, just a coward piece of garbage.
Yeah, that's wow.
To break in,
that's savage.
To break into somebody's house, they're sleeping, which is the most defenseless, way you could be. You know, and this guy's just creeping in houses, and like I said, I don't know if he started out burglarizing. Well, I know he did burglarize, but I think he kind of he got very brazen. And then it started to get to more serious crimes like raping and murder. But this guy, I mean, he's a waste of life, man. Farewell to you, Mr. DeAngelo.
Yep. Just another piece of trash.
I just love it now how all these guys are in wheelchairs and as if we're supposed to have some pity and
sort of
sympathy. Yeah, for these fucking guys. Yeah, anyway. Did you see Marty Jannetty? Remember the one half of the Rockers from wrestling back in the early 90s? He basically went on to Facebook or Twitter or something and sort of confessed to making a man disappear.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, he alleged that the guy was trying to assault him, rape him, and
wow.
I guess he beat him up pretty badly, and now he's kind of recanting and saying that he didn't kill him.
Well, then how did he make him what does he mean by that?
I don't know. I guess there's an ongoing investigation about it, but I don't know what to think about that.
Well, has he said any names or?
I don't think he name dropped anybody. I mean, he said he was like 13 at the time, and some guy just tried to approach him and
that makes me feel a little different about it now. When you first told me, I thought it was like he and a guy at a bar or something. I didn't realize he was 13.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
and who knows what's true or what's false or whatever. But apparently, there's an ongoing investigation now, so it'll be interesting to see where that develops.
Well, if the guy that he defended himself against is still alive, hopefully he faces justice. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would hope for if that were my kid. You know.
Yeah, it's just hard. I guess they're trying to find people who went missing around the time that this happened, which I'm guessing was the 70s.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a while back.
80s maybe, 80s, something like that. But
it's always those old cases like that are harder to do anything with. You know, it's harder to investigate.
Yeah.
You know, even eyewitness testimony can change over time and all that, so that's kind of scary.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but that, growing up, you see all these these wrestlers that you looked up to, and some of them have led tragic lives and lost their lives, and then others are doing really well for themselves. I don't know. Wrestling has always been a soft spot in my heart. I don't really watch it anymore, but I'm very nostalgic about the old guys from when I was growing up. So I wish the best for all of them.
I actually stopped watching that a long time ago.
Yeah,
I just lost interest when I found out it was more so scripted, even though more or less scripted, even though
see, that's what always pulled me in.
Yeah, because you like the storylines and all that.
Yeah, I
you're
was
that
always
type
part
of
of
guy.
the story. Yeah.
But me, I was, I was more into the violent side of it.
Yeah.
And you can't script that.
Well, no. Yeah. I mean, people can say what they want about professional wrestling, and it's fake and it's premeditated. But
Correct.
there's no trampoline. I mean, I remember being in high school when Owen Hart fell, and he died.
Yeah.
And
That was tragic.
Remember, like, one of the teachers were like, "Yeah, well, they have trampolines. How could he die?" It's like, no, it's plywood, and it's unforgiving. And the guy fell from the top of an arena.
Yeah, what did they say, 70 feet or something?
I
just saw a video on it the other day.
Yeah, there's a really great series of documentaries out called Dark Side of the Ring.
Oh, okay.
And they kind of feature each episode is an hour feature of something bad that happened in the wrestling industry.
Yep.
Whether it's death or something scandalous or drugs, and they featured Owen Hart. They did a really, really great feature on Owen Hart and Chris Benoit and all these other tragic circumstances within the wrestling industry. And I mean, like, to say that there's a trampoline. What like, come on.
I have to correct what I said earlier. I said that can't be scripted. The violent part, I meant to say that can't be faked. Some of the punches and stuff are faked, but when you take a metal chair and you rack it across someone's back,
well, they don't. They don't really use chairs anymore because of all.
They used to, and that shit was real.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But
they don't do it anymore because of all the concussions and we know a lot more about concussions now. So all of these sports are lightening up on head injuries, which is weird because football is a contact sport. It's the name of the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can ever really fix it.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, that's a little bit of the news. Did you want to get into the main topic?
Yeah, we can.
Unless you have something else to talk about.
No, I can't think of anything else. And if you can't find anything weird,
all right. Well, Hal, we are going to play for you the 911 call from the night of August 9th, 2013. This is Brandon Lawson, and as I said earlier in the show, it has been dissected and deciphered. Is that the right word? Deciphered?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway.
They tried to decipher it. I don't,
Yeah. And there's a lot of opinions about it. So take a listen, folks, and when it's over, we will be back with our thoughts.
911 emergency.
Yes, I'm in the middle of the field. The Saper just pushed some guys over. Right here going towards Javelin on both sides. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here that got chasing to the woods. Please hurry.
Okay, now run that by me.
I'm not talking to him. I actually ran into him.
Ah, you ran into him. Okay.
Got the first guy.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Okay. Is anybody hurt? Hello? Hello? Hello?
So that was the frantic 911 call that started this mystery. And when I say frantic, you could tell the distress in Brandon's voice. The call has been, as I said earlier, repeatedly listened to, played back. People have tried to come up with their own, because some of it's unintelligible. Some of it you just can't understand what he's saying. He is so distraught.
And also, there's far too many frequencies in the call.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what sounds like you can hear when the 911 operator talks. There's compression there.
Yeah.
And then it slowly comes off. You hear that a lot, and I think people are confusing that for something else.
Well, we are jumping ahead a bit. Before we talk about the 911 call, we should talk about how this man got to be in this part of Texas.
Right. You're right.
So we have, we are not breaking any news story here. This is not new. This has been discussed on numerous podcasts.
Yep.
Tons of articles. People
Lots
on
of forums.
Yeah, people on Reddit have talked about this. For what? We just passed the 7-year anniversary, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's go into a little bit. Brandon Lawson was from Texas. He was engaged to
Ladessa,
his fiance.
Mm-hmm.
And now a lot of my source material I'm researching from is from the Crossbase podcast, where they actually interviewed Brandon's brother Kyle.
Yeah.
And his fiance Ladessa. I've been listening to Tim and Lance since they did the Missing Maura Murray podcast. They do a great job. Always insightful and just a good show. And they talk about missing cases a lot and murders and everything else. And there's also, like I said, tons of articles and stuff. So, as I said, this is where we're getting a lot of our
material, or a lot of our source.
Right.
And, it comes from other places such as sleuth forums and,
Sure. And I'm kind of, it's like this, if anything, I want this podcast or another podcast or a news article or anything to help this case. So I always want to tread lightly when I talk about this stuff, because this guy has children out there who might listen. Yep. Ladessa, who I believe has moved on and she is happy in her life. His brother Kyle, who seems, he lost a brother.
Yeah, that would be very tough.
Whether Brandon is dead or alive, he lost a brother. You know what I mean? So I always want to approach these things with a lot of sympathy, and try not to exploit anything,
Right.
But I want to be honest and just talk about it. So yes, Brandon was engaged to Ladessa. They had 4 children. He had 1 from a previous relationship, correct?
Yeah, from what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and he worked in the oil field, and he was on his way to he had just gotten a new job because he was working tons of hours, and this new job was either a little bit more money coming in or whatever, but it was going to help because he would be home with his family more.
Yeah.
And on the night of August 9th, there was, or would it have been the 8th? I'm not sure. Because, August 9th was the hours when he called, so maybe this argument occurred on the 8th. I don't know. But Brandon and Ladessa had an argument.
Yeah.
She wasn't entirely too happy with, he was using drugs.
Yeah, he's suspected to be using drugs again.
Yeah, which they've said in interviews and stuff, both the brother and Ladessa. He, how do I say it? I guess he was an addict, but he wasn't a slave to it. He would dabble in it when he felt like he wanted to party or just live it up in the moment.
Right.
He wasn't on it every day, and I guess he had just passed a drug test for his new job.
Right.
So he contacted his brother to get some drugs.
Right.
Now, he gets into this argument with his fiance, and he's going to make a 3.5-hour drive to his father's house.
Yeah, in Crowley.
Crowley, Texas, right. And on the way, Ladessa says, hey, instead of going to your father's, which is so far away, why don't you go to your brother Kyle's house? So that's what he does. Now Brandon has no gas in it, very little gas.
Yeah, I'm not sure how anyone found that out. I don't know how anyone found that out.
Well, because later on, he's on the phone with his brother.
Okay.
And he tells his brother that he ran out of gas.
I know he told him that he ran out of gas, but because there were reports that he was going to make a 30-minute drive to this gas station up the road, but he just didn't make it. Right.
So he ends up in this secluded, very dark, no lights, in this town called Brunt, Texas.
Yeah, either that or Bront, Texas. Maybe Bront.
Bront, yeah. And this is where he calls 911. Now, I have to remember correctly because I'm not sure if he places the call with Brandon, because he called Kyle too.
Right.
Now, did he call 911 before that? Because Kyle mentioned that he had no clue that his brother had called 911.
Right. Well, Kyle actually ended up showing up at his truck, and there was an officer there.
Yeah.
Because it was called in by, it was an abandoned vehicle call from, I guess, a truck driver going by.
A passing motorist, yeah.
Yeah, so this trooper, I take it, was already there, and Kyle had lied to him that his brother was missing at the time, I believe.
Yeah, because Brandon had some sort of warrant for his arrest.
Yeah, and he wasn't aware. He said himself that he wasn't aware that Brandon had made a frantic 911 call, because when he actually got what happened, he left. He went to go get the gas, and then
You're talking Kyle.
Kyle, yeah, Kyle. He had his kid with him.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure how old the kid was. I think an article said 4 years old.
Yeah, he was young, and I guess he wanted to get some dinner for the child.
Right, and so he goes into town, I guess, to go get this gas and get his kids something to eat, get everybody something to eat, and then he goes back out with the gas, and he fills the tank up. His brother's still nowhere to be found. Wasn't his wallet and all that?
Everything
all his personal
was in the
effects,
car.
except for his cell phone?
Yeah, because he had a cell phone on him, obviously, yeah.
Right, so... And
his keys, his wallet, yeah, all of his personal effects were in the truck.
Yeah, so Brandon apparently had his cell phone with him. You know, he tried hollering for him a few times, and Brandon didn't respond, but there were phone calls exchanged between those two. And Brandon said that he could see him. Yeah. You know, Kyle's looking around trying to find him, and he can't see him anywhere.
Well, the most frustrating part about the call is Brandon is calling the cops for help.
Right.
He's actually asking the cops for help. But in a phone call with his brother, Kyle, he sees the state trooper. And he says, "One time run," which is code for the cops are coming, run.
Okay.
So it's confusing why he would call the police, call 911 for help, but while he's on the phone with his brother, and I truly believe everything his brother says, why he would say there's like he knew the cops were there.
Right. And and actually, so I think I got my part of the story a little confused.
Well, yeah, there's a lot to take in with this.
Yeah, there is.
Fine.
There is. Yeah, so Brandon could see the cop coming. So that was proof right there that Brandon was still alive. Kyle had said no one else was there. You couldn't see other vehicles. Evidence that there was other vehicles there.
Right.
There was no sort of brass or anything found on the ground, which some suggest that you hear gunshots in a 911 call, which we'll talk a little more about later, I guess, when we dissect everything.
Yeah, we need to touch on that, yeah.
You know, Brandon's still alive at this moment, and he's in the bush. He's in the trees. He's, if you look at a satellite view of all this area, then you'll be able to see how thick the trees actually are there. So Brandon's back there hiding somewhere, and he's telling Kyle, "I can see you," you know, communicating to him that he can see him, but Kyle can't see him anywhere. And I don't believe he ever said that he heard a cell phone ring. You know, there's speculation as to whether his phone was on silent or not. You know, I think they even asked that in the Crawl Space podcast. Does he normally keep his phone on silent?
Yeah.
Which I guess is irrelevant, but he sometimes, if you're talking to somebody that's close, even though you're talking to them on the phone, you can hear them coming toward you as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't think he ever heard anything like that. And then Brandon tells him, you know, one time run, because he sees the police officer showing up.
And I don't want to forget this, but he also tells Kyle that he's being chased out of town by people.
Right.
he uses an expletive.
Right.
I guess he was saying 3 Mexicans were chasing him out of town or something.
Right.
And let's be honest here, Kyle has said that his brother was definitely high that night.
Right. Right.
And I believe he was high on meth. So I don't know anything about meth. I've never tried it, never will. I don't know what your frame of mind is. It would be interesting to talk to a recovering addict and try to find out what it does to your mind. But he was obviously extremely paranoid, very frantic. It's hard to hear exactly what he's saying. We heard most of it. I mean, most of it you can, but he's just talking so fast. It's in a very secluded area. The 911 call, the audio is horrible.
Yeah, it is. And actually, another thing that I found out was that wasn't actually like a 911 center that answered that phone call. It was these nurses that were working in some sort of what is that called, a retirement village or
Yeah.
care
Why did
home?
they say 911 though?
Because they were taking 911 calls.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't like, you know how we have actual 911 centers where, you know, there's trained professionals there and they have all the equipment.
Yeah.
These were supposedly just nurses in a nursing home that were taking these calls. So, you know, there's a question as to how well they were trained and,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean, being trained or not, I mean, it's just hard to hear what exactly he's saying. It's he's not giving any real he's not putting anything out there that he's not being specific.
Right.
So we don't know who's chasing him.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in the call, people have said he was saying staper or sniper or
Right.
state trooper. Now his brother Kyle says he was definitely saying state trooper pulling guys over.
Right. He just fumbled over his words and
Yeah.
said something that sounds like staper, but his brother believes he was saying state trooper.
And it's fascinating too, because there have been cases out there where people do disappear in a blink of an eye, literally.
Yeah.
And this is one of those cases. It's like, did anybody ever do any checks on if in fact a state trooper was pulling over any suspicious vehicles that were seen chasing a truck that night? And what about the passing motorist? Did he or she see anything? Obviously, they just saw a truck.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I
if
would
they
like to-
saw a police officer at the truck, why would they call the cops?
Yeah, I think that's where I messed up earlier. I believe the trooper showed up because of that phone call.
Because of the motorist.
Because of the passing motorist.
Right. But
So
what I'm
then-
saying is if Brandon is calling 911 for help
Right.
because state troopers are pulling guys over, why would the motorist contact the police if there was a state trooper in sight?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
So I would like to hear from the motorist, he or she, whoever it was, as to what they saw.
Okay. Yes. And you know, one thing I was actually interested in hearing was if there were any calls from Ladessa to 911. I mean, there should have been, shouldn't there?
I don't know, because they don't handle, because he was an adult. I mean, I don't know if anybody I don't know if anybody contacted it. I know Kyle has said there was no blood. There was no evidence of anything afoul. He knew that Brandon saw him.
Right.
And you said earlier, if you pull up the Google Maps image, the overhead, we are not too far off from, he was not too far off from a bridge.
Right, about a mile when I did the measurements.
Now, at the end of the 911 call, it has been speculated and theorized that there are gunshots in the 911 call.
Yeah.
At the very end, when the dispatcher is asking if he needs an ambulance.
Right.
And Kyle has said that sound you hear, like the that sound, isn't actually gunshots. It's cars going over a bridge.
Okay.
So it's completely dark, desolate in this area, and it's hard with the audio to hear. But I could have swore when you were playing it back for me and slowing it down, and it almost seemed like you may have heard some running water, like the flow of water, not running water, but the flow of water.
Right.
And people want to always look for nefarious reasons and theories. And there are a bunch of theories. Brandon did have a warrant for his arrest, so it's a theory that he ran away on his own free will.
Yeah, and I think that needs to be debunked right away. I mean, he was with a woman for 10 years and had 3 kids with her.
Yeah.
I don't believe that his social security number has been used. I don't believe that he's tried to get into his bank account.
Yeah, none of that stuff has been used at all.
Yeah, so...
And we're past 7 years now.
I think it would be a lot tougher to get a new identity than we would think. There's not just an identity black market store you can go to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible to disappear. But in this situation, he was doing things that wouldn't cause him to disappear. I mean, why get a new job?
Right.
Why? I mean, he obviously, from everything I've read and heard, he loved his children to death. Would do anything for them. He was a stand-up guy, a great brother, a great son, and for all other accounts, probably a great fiance.
Right.
I'm sure they've had their issues and stuff, which all people do. But I don't believe in the theory that he ran away. I just don't see it.
Well, there's also the fact,
because
why would he call 911 if he was running away?
Exactly. That right there debunks the theory that he ran away.
Yeah, I think it pretty much does. I mean, you don't call 911 and let them know your general vicinity.
Yeah.
Because, especially if your truck is broke down. How are you going to...
Yeah, because
then you have to convince somebody that's driving by to pick you up in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And then take you wherever you want to go.
Because although there is one clear thing in the audio of the 911 call, he places a location.
Right.
So you're right. Why would he give his location if he wants to disappear? The 911 call itself debunks the theory that he ran away. And another thing is I believe that's the initial thought of law enforcement. And I'm not sure if it was taken seriously enough because, you mentioned me in private. If this wasn't such a eerie and mysterious case that has been talked about over and over and over again and analyzed repeatedly and taken through with a fine-tooth comb, this guy would have just been like, some druggie that disappeared or something.
Right.
Which isn't right. It's not right.
It's not right. But that's exactly the point I was going to make there when you were saying that. I believe, my personal beliefs, from what I've read, how the police mishandled this whole case, was that he was just a troublesome druggie that they didn't want to waste their time on.
Yeah. And according to Ledessa and Kyle and others who knew him, he really wasn't. I mean,
and even if he was, if he was an addict, he was an addict. He needed help.
Yeah.
He didn't need to be shrugged off. He needed help.
Right. The other theory, probably the most popular, is that he was murdered. Right.
But when would that have happened?
That's another thing. I don't know. He's saying, if we have it right, state troopers push some guys over.
Right.
Okay.
Which some people believe that he's saying, I pushed some guys over.
Yeah.
So.
He says that somebody was chasing him into a field. Am I right with that?
Yeah, he said the guy chased me into the field, I believe.
Yeah, chasing him, and another one was doing something in a field or something. And that he had actually ran into a bad situation.
Right. Yeah, he makes it sound like he was in a car accident or he ran into someone. Figuratively, he ran into someone. He ran into a bad situation. Like there were people out there doing things that weren't legal, and they didn't want to leave any witnesses to it.
Yeah, and again, if just to think about it logically, because this is so illogical. Like this is out of a thriller novel or movie or something. This is just, I don't know, out of the realm of possibilities. But it did happen. There was no evidence of anything that happened.
Right.
I mean, if you're running into a bad situation, that's one thing. But what about Kyle? Why wasn't he compromised?
Right. And there might be people right now screaming, "What about the gunshots? What about the gunshots?" But the thing is, the quote unquote gunshots happened in a 911 call that was before Kyle made his way out there and talked to his brother on the phone. Okay, so yeah, there were reports of Kyle saying that Brandon was bleeding.
Yes, he does mention that. Yep.
But I think if I were shot, I would say something along the lines of, "I've been shot, I'm bleeding." There could have been many reasons that he was bleeding. He could have fallen. I don't know if there's briars out there, or, I mean, isn't that like a desolate desert area?
It's not desert. There are.
I'm thinking of like sand and stone or
no.
rock.
There's trees. There were trees. I mean, I've never been there. I don't know the landscape, but yeah, there were trees and stuff. Wild boar, rattlesnakes.
Well, I've also heard people say that there's wells out there and there's ditches and
yeah.
I mean,
and it was it on private property that this happened?
Well, I believe his phone was pinged last on someone's private property, and the owner refused to allow them to search there, which also adds to the speculation that he was murdered by a landowner, or what the landowner might have thought was justified, because I believe in Texas, I might be thrown into the fire for this, but I believe in Texas, if you feel threatened on your own land, you can shoot someone to kill.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, they can't just be on your land. They have to be like on your porch or on your patio. You can't just have them in your backyard and be like, I don't like you in my backyard, I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah.
They have to be threatening you close to your home, in your car, or actively committing a crime. A heinous crime like rape or something like that.
And people bring up, his warrant. Maybe there were people after him. Maybe he owed some money to drug dealers and stuff. And I don't know. We can only speculate, right?
Right.
There's no body, which means there's no murder, which means that, I'm not saying it's not important to law enforcement, but to the web sleuths across the United States and abroad, and the podcasters and all the people looking into this, it is important, because just because there is no body doesn't mean something bad didn't happen to him.
Yeah. And there's many things that could have happened to his body. I mean, it's sick to think about, but animals do go after dead bodies. It's happened many times before. It's known within the forensics community that animals do feed on corpses. They don't distinguish the difference. It's just a food source. So anything could have happened out there. Now the theory that somebody was after him, don't you think they would have went after Kyle too? Seeing him there, if they were waiting.
That is what's so frustrating, man. It's like, it boggles my mind that in such a tight window, this guy goes out into a field. He sees his brother. He sees the cop, which he warns his brother that the cop's coming, but he's calling the police for help.
Right.
And that's what's so mind-boggling about it. Like, none of it makes sense. None of this makes sense at all.
Well, when you're on drugs, shit doesn't make sense.
Right. And that's another thing. Maybe he was so, out of his mind.
Right.
and paranoid and just confused. And, he didn't know where he was. That wasn't familiar territory with him.
Right.
That's like if you're in a wooded area at night, you don't know where you're going. You don't know. You don't have any clue.
You might have gone through that area a bunch of times, but
when it's dark,
when you go off road.
Yeah. And it is, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it is completely. I mean, it is like desolate. A road, surrounded by darkness, trees, easy to get lost.
Yep.
The other theory is that he succumbed to the elements,
right,
or perhaps fell. Now, how far is he away from Kyle? Because we can assume that he's near a bridge. If, in fact, the sound that people think are gunshots is cars passing over a bridge, how far is that from where Kyle was standing?
That was actually about a mile.
A mile.
Mm-hmm.
So is it likely that, I mean, obviously Brandon saw Kyle.
Right.
So, I mean, is it likely that maybe he fell into the river? Or
possibly later. I don't think he was by the bridge when he was talking to his brother. I think it would be hard to see somebody a mile away.
Yeah. So you think he was just like, I mean, he's obviously in a phone call. Now, I don't know about the phone call with Kyle, but with the police, he's obviously running or moving fastly. You could tell he's out of breath or frantic or whatever. But I don't know. I don't want to. I mean, I guess I'm just going to put my opinion out there. When I first heard about this case, I really thought that something nefarious happened. Some sort of murder or something of that effect. But after all this, I'm seriously debating whether he was so delirious and out of it that maybe he did succumb to the elements, or maybe he fell, or something. I'm not going to sit here and say he wasn't murdered or something bad didn't happen to him.
Yeah.
This
is all speculation anyway.
It is.
But it's based on our findings, our own research.
Yeah.
And trying to put two and two together. I mean, it couldn't have been gunshots and then him have been shot, and he was just talking normally to his brother on the phone.
Yeah, and everybody believes there's two voices.
Yes.
On that call. I never heard it.
Nope. I've slowed it down. I've used different EQ techniques to bring out different frequencies and cut out all the sound, all the noise that was in the call. And
yeah, because it just sounds like the whole time, even when the 911 dispatcher is talking to him, he's like talking underneath her, and
that part I can't understand.
Yeah, but then there's a part where somebody else supposedly says yeah, and then Brandon says no, I need the cops. I think that's Brandon saying that. I think that's Brandon saying yeah. He's just talking fast.
Well, yeah, because it's sort of like a cocky way of saying it. Be like, do you need an ambulance? Yeah, no, I need the cops.
Exactly. He's like, yeah, no, I need the cops.
Like, yeah, right. I don't need the ambulance. I need the cops.
Right.
Like, come on,
And it's important to note that for some reason, Kyle was looked at. I don't know if he was a suspect, but he was given 2 polygraph tests.
Well, the first one was because they thought that he had helped Brandon escape.
Right. He was involved in Brandon's disappearance. Right.
In a way where Brandon could start a new life and avoid.
But the
felony.
The second polygraph had, some more serious questions, and more along the lines of
did you kill him?
Did you kill him?
Yeah.
Did you end his life? And he passed both. Now he also said that he wants the state trooper to take a polygraph test.
Yeah, and why hasn't he?
I don't know. I mean, his whole case is so bizarre.
We're going to end up missing.
Just by going over all this stuff, it's like I really was on the side that he was my opinion was that he was murdered. Something bad happened to him. Somebody did something to him. But now, as you're learning more about his state of mind that night and everything else, and just the fact that Kyle was there was a passing motorist.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to get over the passing motorist. Why would the passing motorist call the cops if there are state troopers pulling people over? I mean, I don't get that. Maybe I'm missing something in that part of the story. But
I would love to hear the 911 call from the passing motorist to hear if he said, "Hey, there's some guys that got pulled over backed away. Let them know up the road.
Yeah,
there's a disabled vehicle or an abandoned vehicle."
Yeah, exactly. And it's just it's a very sad case. As I said, he had 4 children. He had a lot to live for. Just because he had a few bouts with drug abuse didn't mean he was any less important to these people, to his family, to guys like us who are just wondering what happened to him.
Yeah, he was a human being.
We want some sort of resolve to this, unsolved situation.
Yep. Yeah, I would love for them to be able to finally have some closure for the kids and for Ledessa and for, his brother and the family.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great.
And I would love to hear Ledessa's opinion on the 911 call. I don't know if she was even asked that on the podcast, on the Crawlspace podcast, but I would love to hear her interpretation of what her fiance was saying.
Yeah.
Maybe she could shed a little more light on the dialogue.
Yeah, because I'm sure she and Kyle have heard him in a state where he was pacey and trying to get his words out real fast, and so they would understand him better, I think, than we would. Did Kyle ever mention listening to the 911 call?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that I
don't think he has a very high opinion of the police out there, though.
No, but and
there was searches stopped because it was private property.
Yeah.
Wasn't his cell phone pinged or something in one of the fields?
Yeah, we actually mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, okay.
It was on private property, and the owner wouldn't allow it.
Right. Yep.
But you would think also the sheriff's wife owned the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I can't really speak too positively about things, but I know I remember hearing that the story wasn't really ran as much as it should have been, or it wasn't covered as much as it should have been in her paper.
Yeah. Well, man, I think we have pretty much covered most of it. I know we probably missed something here or there along the way, but we covered it pretty much, pretty extensively for the research we've done. And as I said, there are others who have looked into this case, and we just want we want these questions to be answered.
Right, and I know I've been following this case. It was just one that came up, in searches, and there's some YouTube videos out there. They do missing persons cases and that. I know, listening to the Crawlspace podcast where Kyle was interviewed, that actually gave me a lot more insight.
Oh, yeah.
And then that brought me to think that this possibly could have been hallucinations.
Sure.
Because I was like you, I thought, oh boy, this guy's been killed. You know?
And I want to give a shout out to the True Crime Times from medium.com. This is where we gather most of our information, along with some other podcasts and interviews.
Right.
So just to source that. And if anybody out there knows of Brandon's whereabouts or have any information, you are to contact the Texas Department of Public Safety Missing Persons Clearinghouse. And on the website, they give some information. Brandon Mason Lawson was last seen on August 8th, 2013. He has blue eyes, stands 5'9", and he weighs about 230 pounds. He was 26 at the age of his disappearance. And as I said, if anybody has information, you can contact the Texas Department of Public Safety Missing Persons Clearinghouse. that pretty much wraps it up, right?
Yeah, I think we covered all that we could.
All right, so that concludes another episode of the Rob and Hal Show. I want to thank everybody for listening. Hal, take it easy till I get back.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
All right, man. Hey, guys, thanks everyone for listening again. We will be back shortly. See you when we see you.